Hey guys, so it's been a while. It's been over a couple of months, I think, but all is good. But I do have a couple of things to share. Well, I said all is good, but I guess the first thing is not good technically. It's just a C-peptide update. I got another C-peptide test taken about a month ago in the middle of May, and it wasn't. I was really hoping for it to not only be higher, but to be a good amount higher, because this is the longest I've gone without getting the test taken, and so I was hoping for a decent increase. The last time I got it tested was in December, and that came in at 0.7 nanograms per milliliter, and that was the highest I had gotten it up to. And now this past test, it dropped to 0.5. So, yeah, disappointment. It's happened before. I know it's not going to go a perfect lineup, but it still was kind of crushing. Now, that said, I have to admit that this year has been rough, maybe energetically. It's been weird, and I have definitely slacked off. And just a lack of focus as far as just really doing the simple things. I personally perform Reiki on myself. I used to do it every day, but that's where I kind of lost focus a little bit, and I just wasn't consistent with it. And that goes hand in hand with really focusing on the self-love aspect of this whole healing thing. And so I just kind of got distracted and I just didn't have the best energy. Now, I worked through some things, and it's all part of the process, and it's fine. And so in one way, it's good to get this poor result, because that kind of puts me back in gear. The other thing I want to say is, I don't want to be a hypocrite either, right? Like that kind of, I'm calling myself out there. I don't want to come out here and say, this is how you're going to heal yourself. That's my opinion. I'm not telling anybody to do anything, but I'm obviously stating that. So it's I don't want to say that and then not do it myself, obviously. So, but whatever. I'm admitting to that. My face just got really red. See, I'm nervous to talk. I'm a little sun. I got a lot of sun, but just starting to talk on this video, my face is just flushed with redness. That is the anxiety that I get. Is ridiculous. So that's part of this whole thing that I'm trying to work through. Maybe it'll stop. That's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen that. What the hell? That's nuts. Okay, well, whatever. I'll keep going. So that said, the 0.5, though, it's still not bad. It's obviously, like, that's still higher than what they say type 1 diabetics will be at. I mean, type 1 diabetics generally will have practically 0, all right? So I'm still glad I have that. And I have been, my red face is ridiculous. I had a little story to share about that. I'll do it another time. So I do have sun, though, so I don't want to, because I have been surfing, and it's funny because this coincides with what I'm going to say next anyways. So there's a plateau, and so I'm committed to surf every weekend, and so I've been doing that, just learning. I've never surfed before, and I went out without learning about anything. Just went out by myself the first time, thinking I'll be able to do something at least, and it went awfully. And I could stand on the board, I would say 3 seconds max before I fell off. Luckily, the beach was kind of like a private area. I went really early in the morning. There was nobody really there, except I was by a pier, and then a lady comes and starts fishing with a net right in front of me. So she watched me the whole time. But yeah, I didn't do well. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. But anyways, when I got back, I started looking up surfing instructions, and The one video that I saw was talking about, you're going to hit a plateau. I'm nowhere near hitting a plateau. I can't even do anything yet, but they talk about hitting a plateau, and he said that hitting a plateau is a sign that you're about to take off. So that's how I'm looking at this. I'm just going to keep a positive attitude for it. So the plateau as far as my C-peptide levels. So now aside from that, the mucus release that I've been experiencing for the past 2.5 years, I mentioned my first video that I came on film or showed my face, that it started to slow down, and I was worried that it continued to slow down. It hasn't fully stopped, but it slowed down where I might only see it once or twice a week, where previously the previous 2 years it was multiple times every single day, and it was a significant amount. So that has always, I've always known that's going to come, but it's always worried me because, all right, well, if my body went through this whole long release process and I'm still not there yet, then what? Then there's obviously more to do, or more for my body to do, but it's just a nerve-wracking thing. So but we'll see. It's gonna happen the way it happens. What I wrote my kind of thoughts here. So anyway, so with the mucus though, I've experienced some and I'll share some pictures. I'll give like a 10-15 second warning. So I'll share some pictures. They're a little gross, but not really. The later ones are grosser. They're browner and grosser. But so this first one, I'll pop up there. Now that to me looks like a parasite. Now over the first 2 years of doing it, there have been occasions where, the mucus looks like it could possibly be a parasite. That's what they say. I know that someone made a comment early on asking about that, if I've noticed anything that would be similar to that, and I definitely have here and there, just very occasionally. But this one, like the bunched up one, I could hold it, and it would, the length of it was down to here, and I would hold it from the end, and it was staying together. So I don't know mucus that does that. So there's that. So I'm glad that's coming out. Now the reason that came out though wasn't, I did something. I did a cleanse, to a specific type of cleanse that I'm not quite ready to discuss yet because it's a little different and it's the first time I did one. So not going to say what it was, but that's what that resulted in. Now the other ones I'll show, and these ones are a little bit grosser, very similar, but they're just brown. So here they are, and these came out not through any special cleanse, but they did happen after a fast. I normally my most common fast is just a 3-day fast, and when you start eating again, it sends signals to your digestive system that it hadn't gotten in a while to start releasing stuff from your gut. And it's usually very liquid and, just a mess that comes out the first day that you start eating again. And so I'm used to that, but I've never felt the need to dive into that and see if there's anything in there. So maybe stuff like that has been coming out over the past 2.5 years every time after I fast. I'm not sure. I don't think so though. But I also never checked. But once that big one came out, I checked. I wanted to start checking, so I would kind of scoop down there just to see if anything would come up, and it did, and it was it looked like that. So those have been still coming out, and then aside from that, the mucus, there's just little bits here and there that are there. So I don't know how long it's going to continue. One thing though to mention, that as far as my thoughts on what the mucus is doing is obviously cleaning out my gut. The parasites specifically, if those are parasites, I really don't know. those obviously need to leave. I'm very happy they're not in there. Who knows how many are in there. I'm not sure. But the mucus, the mucus itself that's coming out, I feel like it's just doing this continuous cleanse of bacteria, whatever it is. I got the message that it's bacteria. It could be other things. Who knows? But what I have noticed, and this is another gross topic, so sorry, is so I've kind of been one of my weaknesses, I guess, from an eating thing. I've never eaten dried mango before, like a few years ago, but I started getting it, and overeating that stuff, not very good for you. But I tend to do it. But every time I would eat dried mango in the toilet, it would, it wouldn't be fully digested. There would be little bits of it that wouldn't digest, and that's been my experience over the past few years. Ever since over the past couple months, and I actually tested it, and I ate like a ton of dried mango. Like, there's these huge bags from Costco. I ate the whole bag in like 3 days. I'm not recommending that. It's not a good thing to do, but I mean, there's worse things. But I gave myself the excuse to do that just to see how it would digest, because I was noticing that I'm not seeing anything. And this is after all this mucus has come out. And I would purposely even not chew it full. I would chew it really quickly and eat, so it wasn't like fully, like, you're supposed to chew for a while to get it completely almost dissolved in your mouth. That's the healthiest way to go about it. But I chewed it quick and ate it down. So there were chunks going down into my gut, and my poop was like the best looking poop, and there was nothing. That's something that I've noticed over the past few months, that I'm not seeing remnants of anything ever in there. I've never considered that I've had a bad digestive system. I don't have like IBS. I've never had any discomfort with my gut, so I just assumed everything's going well. But obviously, with all this mucus clearing something out, obviously, type 1 diabetes may itself be a pretty good signal that there's something going on with your gut, even though the beta cells that produce insulin aren't really tied to the gut specifically. But the pancreas is. It does produce digestive enzymes. So obviously, if the pancreas is having issues with its beta cells, it could be having issues with the digestive enzymes that it produces for the gut, and so it can't break down stuff as easily, possibly. So maybe this is a sign showing that it's improving. I don't know. But yeah, so everything's looked very, very good, is what I can say. So sorry for the grossness. All right, so that is that story. So now the other thing is, just the energy this year has been intense for me, and I've been drained like randomly. This happened 1.5, 2 years ago, where it would just be random, and it really, for me, it's a lot of the times tied to solar flares. Like it would just be this crazy exhaustion, and I would just randomly take a nap in the middle of the day and not even try to. So there's just been a lot of intenseness this year so far. So that's been going on. But there's been a big release for me. And obviously I've been releasing mucus for the past 2.5 years physically. So this whole time has been about releasing some things, but this year specifically is release, death, and just letting go. And so I want to share a story here, just to show, I'm going to be pretty vague about it, so I don't want to get too, into personal details too much, but the reason I want to share it is because of the impact it had on my body, which energy does. Any type of stuff like this, it's held and stored in your body if you're not feeling through it. So I cut off communication with somebody a little over a year ago. And I took one call from them over the holidays in December. It went fine, but it kind of went the way I expected. Didn't really get to say much, and even what I did say, whatever. But I was, peaceful, loving, but at the same time, I said, we had this call, but I still am not going to respond to any text, and I just want this space for now. So then something occurred, an event occurred, and this is where I don't want to come across saying that like I'm the good guy and this person was wrong. In fact, I would say the majority of the world would probably say that I'm in the wrong here, specific to the person and the event that occurred. As in, when something like this happened, I should just drop that stuff for now and just be there to comfort this person, provide some support of some kind. And I didn't do that. So I still didn't respond. And so that's, that was my call. And I understand that would be definitely viewed as me being just completely wrong. So just want to say that, so you likely will disagree with me if I told you what it was, but I didn't do anything. I was not mean in any way. I'm just not communicating. And I obviously have my reasons for doing that. So the response that I got, just a text, a couple texts, or more than a couple, but the two that I want to talk about are the reasons, and just to show how they impacted my body without even me needing to really do anything. The first one was they just said that I'm dead to them. And when I read that, it was honestly a relief to me. That was just the initial gut feeling was a relief, with some just a lot of weight taken off of me. That said, there was of course sadness, just not because that this person viewed me in a very negative way, but just sadness at this situation at all. And I have this weird feeling that really came in. It kind of symbolized that, just made it seem like this relationship is ending the way it started, in a weird way. And it was just overall sad, but I'm very numb to these comments, and so it was hard to feel it, but I knew the sadness was there. I felt it a little bit, but I couldn't really feel it. But the interesting thing is, so the past 5 years specifically, my right shoulder, I could not turn. I can now, so this is part of the story here. I could maybe turn my neck like to this, and it would be very painful. And my whole back, specifically the right side, was very tight, very painful, just sore always. And there was a lot of tension in my neck where I couldn't really turn my head comfortably. Now it's completely loose. So what happened after I read that initial text, I was worried that I couldn't feel it, because I was really trying to feel the sadness of it, right? The next day, my entire back, my right side more so, but my entire upper back and my neck inflamed. Never seen anything like this before. And I wasn't doing anything. And in fact, I was talking about low energy this year. I had not been working out for a few weeks, so there was nothing. It's not like I went to the gym and lifted. It looked like I went to the gym and lifted 10 hours. I was inflamed. I had shoulders up to here. It was crazy. But it inflamed, and it was so uncomfortable and tight for 3 days. And I got a massage, and the person was shocked by when they saw my back. My right side specifically was raised up. So there's no reasoning for that to happen except what my body was doing in response to reading this. I know that I'm positive on that. Initially I'm like, oh man, like is my body now holding on to this pain because I wasn't able to feel it correctly or something? But no, this was just the feeling that it went through to finally release it. This was energy that, and I've been getting multiple messages over the years with that, specifically the strain in my neck and back, and sometimes goes up into my head with just letting go of this weight. And after 3 days, it cleared up. And by the fifth day, it was the first time in the past 5 years or so that I could turn my head without any pain whatsoever. It just, boom, cleared up. So there's that story. Now I got another text, and this has to do more with kind of like synchronicities. And the text said, you are nowhere close to the person who I thought you were. And again, when, it's meant to be mean, it's meant to show that they don't think much of me anymore. But again, the reaction I got from that was I was in agreement, and I kind of always have been, because for one, I don't know what they thought of me before, or what I don't feel like they knew me before, so it didn't, like, I was just in agreement with it. And the interesting thing about it, and these synchronicities come up at just perfect times, but the next day I was doing another Kundalini session, and these are just laying on your back. Someone's doing a form of Reiki type healing energy, but there's music playing. For me, honestly, the main reason I do it is for dancing, and that's one thing I've committed to as well, is to dance 30 minutes every day, just to loosen my body up, get used to that, because I am going to a big dancing thing up in Canada in August, so I gotta prepare for that. So there's music being played, and it's different songs each time. And one of the songs that had lyrics in it, never been played. I've done, I don't know, at this point, probably like 20 of these sessions. And the song that was played, the main lyric was, "I am not who you think I am." And so that was the lyric in the song the very next day after getting that text. So again, it just the synchronicities pop in at the right time, just kind of at least giving me some support, right? Because it's your mind tries to like justify it, and you see it both ways. You see it like because there's things that I agree with on. If I like, it's hard when I agree with people who would say that I'm in the wrong. Like I myself think I am, but, and this kind of brings in another small synchronicity, is that I knew in my heart I needed to. So even if it is wrong from an ego perspective, a mind perspective, from the population of the world perspective, I knew I needed to do this in my heart. And I'm glad I did, even if it is wrong, because I released so much from it. And there's only, it just helped. That's all I can say. And in one of my yoga classes, I think the quote that the yoga instructor, that they actually, no, this was a song too. And it was said something, I forget the lyrics, but it was a guy's voice. I've never heard of the song before, but he said something to that effect where, please don't judge me for being wrong and doing the wrong thing when I know so strongly in my heart that it was right. And so, just stuff like that. So, red face again, of course, and I get all emotional. It's ridiculous, but it's weird because I'm fine on my own, and then I start talking about it. It's weird opening up and speaking about it. You feel the urge to let tears out. It's not something I'm used to there. So I rambled. Hopefully that gives some sort of update. Okay, that's it. All right, see you guys. Thanks.